Here's the geography of the vast country of Canada explained by an American in less than 5 minutes. Are you ready? Here we go. Canada is a massive country located in northern North America, one of the northernmost countries in the entire world, sharing the world's longest land border with the United States of America, almost 5,500 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific to the Arctic. Despite what you see on this map though, Canada actually has two land borders, and the other one is one of the world's shortest. In 2022, Canada agreed to share the tiny uninhabited Hans Island situated in the far North Arctic Ocean right between Ellesmere Island and Greenland with the country of Denmark, giving the two countries a tiny 1,300-meter land border, in addition to their 4,000-kilometer long maritime boundary, the longest ocean border of any two countries in the world. And wrapping up borders, Canada has one other tiny maritime boundary with the French overseas territory of St. Pierre and Miquelon off the coast of Newfoundland. Now, as far as the actual territory of Canada goes, it is massive. The second largest country in the world by total area, Canada is about one Pennsylvania larger than the United States as a whole. And it has by far and away the world's longest coastline. Although measuring the exact length of the coastline is of course impossible, by any way you try, Canada's coastline is at least twice as long as second place, over 200,000 kilometers, which is as long as 5 rotations around the Earth. It borders 3 oceans, along each of which it has innumerable bays, fjords, and islands, including the massive Hudson Bay, the world's second largest bay and the largest contained within a single country, and the world's second largest archipelago, the Canadian Arctic, home to islands like Baffin, Victoria, and Ellesmere, each of which ranks in the top 10 largest islands in the world. Despite this size though, these northern regions of Canada are almost completely depopulated, with Canada's 3 northern territories, Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut, having less than 150,000 people between them. Canada's deep connection to the water doesn't end with the ocean though. It also has over 2 million lakes, the most of any country, holding 20% of the world's surface freshwater. Canada has so many lakes that if you subtract its water area, it falls to the 4th largest country in the world behind China and the US. Most of these lakes are found in a vast, almost completely unpopulated region known as the Canadian Shield, a rocky plain scoured by millions of years of heavy glaciation, featuring some of the world's oldest surface rocks, almost as old as the Earth itself. All of this gets into the number one thing you have to understand about Canadian geography, which is that although it is the world's second largest country, Canadians themselves only live on a tiny fraction of that land. Because northern Canada is so inhospitable, 85% of Canadians live within 160 kilometers of the US border. But even that doesn't tell the whole story. On this map, each color is 25% of Canada's population, and you can see of that 85% that lives within 100 miles of the border, most of them live in this tiny red and green area in the southeastern portion of the country. This region, stretching from Windsor, Ontario to Quebec City, Quebec, in the watershed of the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River, is Canada's heartland, and in some ways can be said to be Canada itself. 60% of Canadians, almost 20 million people, live here, making this the only part of Canada that has a population density comparable to the lower 48 US states. The country's 2 largest cities, Toronto and Montreal, and capital Ottawa, are in this watershed. The St. Lawrence River, which drains the Great Lakes into the Atlantic, in some ways can be said to be Canada's Mississippi, a large navigable waterway connecting the inland frontier to the global ocean. It's on this river that most of Canada's largest ports can be found, including the second largest in the country, the Port of Montreal, which is hundreds of kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean. Montreal is the world's most populous island in a river, and without the St. Lawrence River, this massive city and all of the cities upstream of it would not exist. Montreal's province, Quebec, is the home of French-Canadian culture and is the largest province in Canada, about the size of South Africa. For all intents and purposes though, Quebec really sits on a narrow band around the St. Lawrence, and all this is just kind of their backyard. It really can't be emphasized enough how without the unifying geography of this watershed, Canada would be a very different place. Specifically Canada's most populous province, Ontario, home to 40% of all Canadians, the vast majority of whom live on the Ontario Peninsula down here, a strip of land that sits deceptively far south in the Great Lakes. For reference, the latitude of Seattle, Washington is about right here. 70% of Canadians live south of that line. All this is to say that although obviously not all Canadians live in the St. Lawrence watershed, the vast majority do, and Canada would not be the centralized, unified place we see today without this geographic feature. And although Canada is technically the world's second largest country with vast, untouched wilderness, what it really is for most Canadians is similar to the American Rust Belt, a dense industrial core with major cities and vast industrial output, but located hundreds of miles inland, connected only to the global ocean by navigable waterways. This one just happens to freeze in the winter. Canadians, let me know what I forgot or got wrong in the comments down below. And don't worry, I didn't forget. I have a whole script written about the Prairie Provinces, British Columbia, and the Atlantic Provinces, but this video just got too dang long for that. So in the meantime, let me know what you think about this framing of Canadian geography, and everybody else let me know where you think we should go next. Thank you so much for watching. Follow for more geography videos.